Have you ever been right on the edge of a breakthrough, but felt so battered, fundamentally exhausted, that you just wanted to drop everything and walk away?
Oh, yeah, that exact feeling.
Right, just completely done. Well, if you are feeling that way right now, you are in the perfect place. Welcome to another deep dive for the Simplified Awakening channel.
We are super glad you're here with us.
Definitely. And before we get into it, we want to humbly ask you to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop a valuable comment below. Doing that doesn't just help the channel. It actively helps us spread these timeless teachings to people who might really need them today.
Absolutely, it makes a huge difference. And the source text we are unpacking today is, well, it's specifically designed for those moments of just profound exhaustion.
Yeah, today's mission is all about exploring this ancient, really powerful narrative about ultimate gritty perseverance. We're looking at the Ajananya Jataka.
Which is Jataka number 24 for those keeping track.
Right, Jataka number 24 from the classical Buddhist texts. And we're going to try to figure out what it genuinely means to refuse to be replaced when the pressure is just unbearable.
Yeah, to really grasp the impact of this text, we have to kind of look at how it's structured, because the Jataka tales, they're stories of the Buddha's past lives, right?
Right.
But they don't just function as, neat little fables. They operate almost like psychological interventions.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, they begin with what's called a story of the present. So a framing narrative that takes place during the historical Buddha's actual life.
Okay.
Someone is dealing with a crisis right in front of him, and the Buddha uses their immediate struggle as the foundation for a deeply tailored lesson.
Got it. So he's addressing a real-time problem. And the framing story for this deep dive opens at the Jetavana Monastery. The master of the Buddha is surrounded by his followers. And we are quickly introduced to the core problem, which is that a brother in the order has simply given up.
Yeah, he's just done.
Right. And he hasn't broken a major rule. He hasn't committed some massive crime. His drive is just gone. The text actually calls him faint-hearted. He has stopped trying to make spiritual progress altogether.
Which honestly is a remarkably compassionate starting point for a religious text.
Why do you say that?
Because spiritual and cognitive burnout is a biological reality. I mean, think about the rigorous path of ancient asceticism.
Oh, it's intense.
Right. Constant mindfulness, meditation, fasting, intense self-regulation that demands a massive amount of executive function.
You can't just run on autopilot.
Exactly. When you experience sustained cognitive effort for that long, your brain literally starts signaling that you are in danger of total depletion. It begs you to conserve energy.
It's steering you toward the path of least resistance.
100%.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second.
Yeah.
It's like you're like training for a marathon, right? And just walking off the track at mile 20.
Yeah.
Like your body might physically be able to take another step, but your brain just throws up a massive stop sign. You look at the goal you've been working toward for years, and a voice inside just says, I don't care anymore. I'm done.
Yes, that is the exact feeling the text is capturing. And the Buddha's reaction to this monk is so fascinating because of what he doesn't do.
He doesn't yell at him?
No, he doesn't drag the monk to the front of the assembly and publicly humiliate him. He doesn't question his devotion or tell him he's weak. He basically normalizes the biological and emotional wall the monk has hit.
Right. He addresses the group and says, Brethren, in bygone days, the wise and good still persevered even when wounded.
That specific word choice is everything. Wounded.
Yeah, the use of the word wounded is really what stands out there. He isn't calling the monk lazy. He is acknowledging that the exhaustion is a legitimate, actual injury.
Exactly.
But he also immediately establishes a standard. He acknowledges the wound, sure, but insists that the wise push through it anyway.
Right. He doesn't say, oh, you're wounded, take a year off. He says the wise persevered.
Exactly. And to illustrate how that is even remotely possible, the master constructs a narrative mirror for this monk. He shifts into the story of the past, taking his audience away from the monastery and into the ancient archetypal city of Benares.
Right. And Benares, it basically serves as the ultimate stage for human drama in these texts. It's the classic setting. And the conflict he introduces is specifically designed to make the monk's current burnout look almost manageable by comparison.
Oh, totally. The stakes are massive.
Massive. Benares is entirely surrounded by 7 hostile kings. 7, it is a synchronized, overwhelming siege from every possible direction.
Okay, so let me push back on this a little bit,
Right.
or at least ask a question for the listener.
Sure.
What does this all mean for our listener today? I mean, having 7 kings at your gate sounds terrifying, obviously.
Sure.
But how does that translate to real life? We aren't defending literal stone walls from ancient armies.
Well, we aren't defending literal stone walls, no. But we absolutely face multi-front sieges.
Oh, for sure.
Think about it. Burnout is rarely the result of one catastrophic event.
No, it's usually a bunch of little things.
Exactly, or a bunch of big things all at once. It's the compounding weight of a heavy deadline at work, a sudden health scare, a conflict in your relationship.
A massive, unexpected car repair bill.
Right. Aging parents who suddenly need help, and this creeping sense of internal self-doubt, and it all hits you in the exact same week.
That week where you just look up and say, are you kidding me right now?
Yes, that is what psychologists actually refer to as allostatic load.
Allostatic load, okay.
Yeah, it's the cumulative burden of chronic stress in life events. Look, when you face one threat, your sympathetic nervous system kicks in, you handle it, and you recover.
Right, normal stress response.
But when you face 7 simultaneous threats, 7 kings, your threat detection system just overloads.
It's short circuits.
Exactly. The sheer volume of the crises creates paralysis. The brain looks at the 7 kings and basically calculates that victory is statistically impossible, so the most efficient biological response is to just surrender. Stop trying.
Okay, wow. That makes the siege analogy so much more relatable. So to defend against this impossible modern or ancient siege, the king of Benares deploys his greatest asset.
The royal chariot.
The royal chariot,
Yeah.
drawn by 2 magnificent, noble, thoroughbred horses. And the text reveals right here that one of these horses is the Bodhisattva.
Which is the Buddha in a previous incarnation.
Right.
And notice the specific role the Bodhisattva is playing here. This is so important. He is not the king sitting securely in the throne room drawing up battle plans.
Right, he's not delegating.
No, and he's not even the charioteer holding the whip. He is the engine.
The engine, I love that.
He is the one physically wearing the yoke, dragging the heavy machinery of war right into the mud and the chaos. It's this incredibly powerful metaphor for total immersion in the gritty, unglamorous labor of life.
Yeah, he's doing the literal heavy lifting. So the battle kicks off, and the chariot tears through the enemy lines. It's brutal work, but they successfully break the first king's army.
One down.
One down. Then the second, the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. They are doing the impossible.
Oh.
They are systematically dismantling this overwhelming threat.
Beating the allostatic load.
Beating it back, exactly. But then, right at the climax of the fight, the noble chariot horse takes a devastating hit. He is grievously wounded.
I mean, he has absorbed an incredible amount of damage to protect the city up to this point. He is bleeding, his strength is failing, and he has essentially sacrificed his physical well-being to defeat 6 of those 7 armies.
The load finally caught up with him.
The load caught up.
So because the horse is so badly injured, the chariot driver makes a cold, tactical calculation. He pulls the chariot out of the fray, unyokes the bleeding noble horse, and prepares to swap him out.
Right.
And the text uses a very specific phrase here that I think is central to everything. The driver prepares to replace him with a sorry beast.
Sorry.
A hack. A lower quality, unproven, completely inferior horse.
And, you know, from a purely logistical standpoint, the driver's logic actually makes sense.
Does it?
Well, yeah. You have a damaged primary engine, so you swap it for the backup to finish the job. The driver represents that highly rational, protective part of our own minds that constantly looks for an escape hatch when the pain becomes acute.
Oh, the voice that says, you've done enough, let someone else handle it.
Exactly. You're bleeding, stop. But the noble horse refuses to be unyoked.
Right. Despite the agonizing pain, he looks at the situation and realizes that this sorry beast cannot achieve the final victory. The noble horse knows that if he steps down right now, the 7th king will overrun them, the city will burn, and everything he just bled for will be completely erased.
This is the moment of ultimate clarity in the story. The horse recognizes that the inferior substitute might be able to physically stand in the harness. It looks like a horse, but it lacks the internal fortitude, the actual spirit to win the battle.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, and I want to push back on this for a second.
Go for it.
Because if we look at this through a modern lens, pushing through a severe bleeding injury sounds remarkably like toxic productivity.
Yeah. The modern critique.
Right. I mean, we are constantly told to listen to our bodies, to rest when we are hurt, and to stop glorifying burnout. Like, if my car's engine is failing, I don't redline it until it explodes. I pull over. So why is this ancient text telling us to essentially work ourselves to death? Isn't it sometimes smarter to just rest?
That is the perfect question to ask here, because there is a crucial distinction to be made between resting a strained muscle and abandoning your life's core purpose.
Okay, unpack that.
The text is not advocating for mindless self-destruction. The sorry beast is the key to understanding this. The horse isn't refusing a comfortable bed to recover in. He is refusing to let a fundamentally compromised inferior standard take control of the mission.
Oh,
Think of it like an airplane's auxiliary power unit.
the APU.
Yeah.
The little engine, the tail of the plane.
Yes, exactly. That auxiliary unit can keep the cabin lights on and the air conditioning running while the plane is just parked at the gate.
Right.
But it does not have the thrust to get the plane off the ground. If you try to fly the plane with the auxiliary unit, you will crash.
Oh, wow.
So the noble horse looks at the sorry beast and realizes that is an auxiliary power unit. It can stand here and look like a horse, but it cannot deliver the thrust required to break the Seventh Army.
Okay, that reframes the entire scenario for me. It's not about ignoring pain for the sake of ego or being a tough guy. It's about recognizing when the stakes are simply too high to accept a cheap substitute.
Precisely.
And in our own lives, the sorry beast is basically the path of least resistance. It's the backup plan we settle for when our true calling demands too much friction.
And we invite the sorry beast into our lives constantly.
Give me an example.
Well, say you are exhausted from trying to communicate with your partner. It's hard work. So instead of having the difficult, vulnerable conversation, you settle for the sorry beast of emotional distance. You just sit there scrolling on your phone in the same room.
Oh, that hits close to home.
Right. Or you're burned out from pursuing a really meaningful career, so you settle for the sorry beast of a job that pays the bills but slowly kills your spirit. You are tired of the mental effort required to stay mindful, so you let the sorry beast of cheap dopamine and distraction take the yoke.
Wow. And the driver, which you said is our own rationalizing mind, is always standing right there, offering us that inferior horse,
Always.
saying, hey, you've worked hard today. You dealt with 6 kings. Just let this lesser version of yourself handle the rest. And the real danger is that the sorry beast feels like relief in the short term, but it guarantees failure in the long term.
Because the noble horse understands the math. 6 defeated kings mean absolutely nothing if the 7th king breaches the wall.
The whole city falls anyway.
Exactly. The integrity of the entire system relies on him seeing the task through to the absolute end. It requires an override of his immediate biological desire to stop the pain, and that override is fueled by a deep, unshakable alignment with his highest purpose.
So good. And because he refuses the sorry beast, the outcome is decisive. The noble horse stays in the yoke, he charges back into the mud and the blood, and he just shatters the 7th Army.
He breaks the siege.
The siege is broken. The city of Benares is secure, and King Brahmadatta goes on to rule his kingdom in peace and righteousness. The monumental effort brings order completely back to the chaos.
Right, because the completion of the duty wasn't just about the horse proving how tough he was. The survival of the entire city depended on his refusal to quit.
So the master finishes this really visceral story of warfare and endurance, and he brings his audience back to the present moment at the Jataka Monastery.
Right back to the framing story.
Yeah. The faint-hearted monk is sitting there, having just absorbed this intense narrative. And then the master preaches the 4 truths.
And these are the 4 noble truths, right? The absolute bedrock of the Buddhist framework.
Right.
The reality of suffering, the root cause of that suffering, the potential for its cessation, and the eightfold path that leads to freedom. But the monk isn't hearing these as abstract academic concepts anymore.
No, he's hearing them completely differently.
He is hearing them through the lens of a horse bleeding in the mud.
Man, and the narrative unlocks something in his brain that dry philosophy just couldn't. The faint-hearted monk who just hours before was completely depleted and ready to abandon everything achieves arahatship.
Which is huge. Achieving arahatship means he has reached the highest fruit of spiritual awakening.
The ultimate goal.
Yeah, he has entirely broken the cycle of ignorance and suffering. He transitioned from the depths of profound burnout to the absolute pinnacle of enlightenment, specifically because he finally understood what it means to recognize and reject the sorry beast.
But the master holds back one final detail until the very end. And this is a staple of the Jataka architecture, right? The identification of the character.
Yes, the big reveal.
The Buddha looks at the assembly and reveals who was who in the past. He says that his chief attendant, the elder Ananda, was the king of Benares in that past life. And then he reveals that he, the fully awakened Buddha sitting serenely before them, was the noble chariot horse.
And that revelation fundamentally changes how the followers view their own struggle.
It has to. I mean, imagine being that exhausted monk. You're looking at the Buddha who seems so tranquil, so perfect, and so completely removed from the gritty reality of fatigue.
Right, he looks untouchable.
Exactly. It is so easy to look at enlightened or highly successful people and assume they just possess some magical immunity to pain. Like, it's easy for them.
But the Buddha completely shatters that illusion here. He is essentially telling the monk, I know exactly what it feels like to want to quit. I have had my flesh torn open. I have felt the agonizing weight of the yoke. I have looked at an easier path and had to force myself to reject it.
It completely humanizes the divine journey. Enlightenment is not a passive state you just drift into on a cloud of good vibes.
Not at all.
It is the result of lifetimes of gritty, painful, unrelenting perseverance. The Buddha didn't bypass the mud. He dragged the chariot right through it.
And that is incredibly comforting when you think about it.
Comforting. How so?
Well, when those 7 kings of modern life are hammering at your gates and you feel like you are bleeding out emotionally, you aren't failing. You are just in the yoke.
Oh, wow.
The friction you are feeling isn't a sign that you are broken or on the wrong path. It's actual proof that you are pulling something heavy and meaningful.
That is a massive paradigm shift. The difference between the person who achieves their highest potential and the person who remains trapped in a cycle of frustration isn't the absence of pain.
No.
It is the refusal to be unyoked. The fully awakened mind recognizes the sorry beast for what it really is, a false comfort that ultimately surrenders the city.
Exactly.
So bringing this directly to you, the listener, when you are wounded by life, when the pressure of your own 7 kings feels like it's just going to crush you, your mind is going to offer you a way out.
It always does.
It will tempt you to lower your standards. It will tell you that a compromised, lesser version of your goal is good enough. It will literally hand you the reins of a sorry beast and tell you to take a break.
And in those precise moments, you have to remember the noble chariot horse. You have to remember that even the most awakened beings in history had to push through the exact same exhaustion you're feeling.
So we want to leave you with a final thought to really chew on. Take a hard look at the landscape of your life right now. Identify the areas where you are feeling the most acute pressure and fatigue.
And ask yourself a really honest question. In what specific area are you secretly preparing to settle for a sorry beast just because the fight has gotten a little painful?
Where are you letting the hack take the yoke? Thank you so much for spending your time with us on this deep dive for Simplified Awakening. We really hope this story gives you the clarity and the grit to keep pulling your chariot forward, regardless of the armies at your gates.
Keep pulling.
Let us know in the comments where you are refusing to settle. We read every single one. And until next time, stay hooked for the next story.